Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Lazio Lounge. Before we start talking about the match of today, please let me thanks all our Patreon, because thanks to you we are able to go on, pay microphones and a Spreaker account, etc. So really we appreciate your help. It's just $2 a month, so it's not that much, but you know, we really appreciate your help and it's really important for us. So thanks to all our Patreon for what you're doing and for your help. Unfortunately, after the derby, Lazio played well, but we didn't get the 3 points. I'm here with Alasdair McKenzie. Hello, Alasdair.
Hello. Yeah, it's disappointing, isn't it? To kind of shorten it, it's very disappointing. But we'll get into the hows and whys.
And joining us, Mike Di Mascio. Hi, Mike. How are you? He unmuted the microphone, so we cannot hear you, Mike. Michael. Well, okay. He's going to join us as soon as possible. Alasdair.
Boys, can you hear me? Sorry.
Now we can hear you. Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry. I was saying how positive I was, but nobody heard me. Nobody heard anything I said, and I was very positive before the derby, and I remain positive now, and that's what I was saying. And I think Vittorio shut my mic off on purpose because it's a funeral inside there between him and Alasdair.
Thank you. We need your positivity.
Absolutely.
Guys, Lazio played well. Is this probably the things that drive me crazy? Lazio dominated for 65 minutes, and if you see the sheet score, Fiorentina had one shot on target, and they scored. Big teams usually win those type of matches. Lazio didn't today. Alasdair, where was the mistake? Where did Lazio fail?
Well, I mean, for me, it was a case of the usual things, really, which is wastefulness in front of goal. We created enough chances in the first half alone to be going in 2 or 3 goals up at half time, but didn't manage to take them. And obviously that's been a talking point for quite a long time now. But also I just thought it was unforgivable that how much the performance dipped in the second half. You say 65 minutes, I think that's being generous. I think for the entire second half, Lazio were kind of lethargic, far less interested than they were in the first, and probably a bit, a bit lazy. I think. I didn't like the attitude so much in the second half. And then I think that Inzaghi got it a bit wrong then as well. His substitutions for me were a bit negative, and obviously he didn't have much luck with Radu getting injured at the end. But I think all of those things combined made this happen, which, like I say, is a shame, because at half time I was very much on board with Mike's positivity and feeling quite happy about how everything was going, because I thought the first half performance really did pick up where we left off in the derby.
Mike, you agree?
I know it's not sexy for a podcast if everybody's in agreement, but yeah, I share a lot of what Alasdair said. And I echo his thoughts on the strange from the moment I saw the lineup with Bastos and how well he had been playing to not feature. Perhaps it was a muscular injury at the end, but he looked fine to me when he did come on. And yeah, the Badel substitution, it was rather negative. So yeah, I echo a lot of what he said. It was strange for me. We had a lot of enthusiasm going into the match. We had a lot of enthusiasm watching it here amongst our club members, and everybody vanished pretty quickly, and they took off after, compared to last week where I took a snow bath. I jumped in the snow after the third goal. So I don't want to lose hope. I know with a win against Udinese, we're 5 points back, and we're right back in the thick of things. But yes, I could see how the rationale would be that Champions League is gone now. But I'm still maintaining a bit of hope, considering we still have to play Milan and we still have to play Inter. And these are 6-point type of matches against our direct rivals.
Let's talk about Patrick, because I believe everybody was astonished to see him starting instead of Bastos, who I thought was coming out probably his best 2 performance Coppa Italia against Milan, he was great. Same thing in the derby, I thought he was amazing. But I thought, seeing the match, it made sense. Patrick played really, really well, and especially it was important when Lazio was attacking, he was coming up, playing the ball much better. And we said it often, Alasdair, in this podcast, how scared we are when Bastos or Wallace has the ball on the feet. Instead, Patrick is very good in that, and we saw it today. I don't want to say that we could have won thanks to Patrick, but we didn't lose it for Patrick. And I thought probably he played his best match for us today.
Yeah, I think Inzaghi will be massively relieved about that because, like you say, everybody was a bit astonished to see that selection. And I think if Patrick had had a bad game, it would have been a very easy thing for people to kind of get on Inzaghi's back about. But I think the rationale in my mind for Inzaghi is that Patrick can do more, like you say, in the construction of attacks than Bastos can. He's a bit better technically, and he likes to get on the overlap and try and get crosses in and things. And Bastos does like the odd kind of barnstorming run forward, but he doesn't quite make the same contributions in that area. But yeah, I mean, I was surprised because I just think you've got to generally select on merit and on form, and that is what Inzaghi likes to do a lot of the time. And it was a bit harsh, I thought, to drop Bastos out of the team, given the way he played against Roma, like you say. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, thankfully, I don't think it is a massive talking point because Patrick did play game, did play well, and I think justified his place.
Mike, do you agree?
But if we remember correctly, Patrick had a good game as well against Milan with Bastos, and we talked about that the last time. And so I think, yeah, perhaps Inzaghi knew something we didn't. I would like to find out his technical choices, why he felt the need to bring some of these players on. But it didn't, you're right, Vittorio, it didn't cost us the match. In fact, it was Radu who cost us the match today, the 3 points. And to a lesser extent, Ciro Immobile, too, with some of his selfish play. He could have moved the ball, spread the ball around a little bit more. But now he's suspended for the next game, and it's a perfect opportunity for Caicedo to pick up where he left off and put 3 goals past Parma next week. I'm maintaining positivity, guys. You're not gonna shake me here. We're gonna score 3 past Parma next week. Inter will drop points. Milan will drop points, and before you know it, we're gonna say, let's bring Mike back on when I'm right.
We will. I'm happy that Mike brought this up because I didn't want to start this thing. Ciro Immobile scored an incredible goal, but I thought he misses 3 very good chances. And in the second half, we had an amazing counter-attack with Ciro Immobile with the ball. I think Luis Alberto on the left, Correa on the right. He could have easily passed the ball to one of the 2 of them, and they could have gone in front of the keeper. Instead, he tried to go all alone, and he shot on a defender. Now I don't remember which defender. I didn't like the performance of Ciro Immobile. I know I'm going to get criticized for that because he scored, he's always Ciro, etc. But I have to be honest, I didn't like him today.
I don't think you're going to be alone in that. I mean, it was a fantastic goal, and the move building up to the goal was brilliant as well. But yeah, I mean, I see that we've had a comment from Rami Algendi saying Immobile scored a great goal, but I think he was horrible and cost us the win. And yeah, because he has missed a lot of good chances. And when I was saying before that we had the chances to basically have the game won by half time, I mean, it was him who was on the end of most of them. And you would, if you're going to pick one player from this team, he would be the one you would pick. But he's just not really, his form hasn't been great just in 2019 generally. And I think that was his first goal from open play this year, as far as I remember. Tell me if I'm wrong, please. But yeah, it's funny. I mean, I wrote a piece about Felipe Caicedo this week, and one of the points I made in it was that this is probably the first time ever that Inzaghi's been put in a situation where he has to pick between an out-of-form Immobile and an in-form Caicedo. And obviously their abilities as footballers are quite far apart, but if you're picking on form, Caicedo's the guy who's scored 3 in his last 4 games now and deserves a shot. And I think he was a bit unlucky. I think we would have seen him today were it not for Radu's injury. But the fact that Immobile is now suspended for the game against Parma, then it might actually work out for the best to give Caicedo another run at it, like Mike says, to put 3 goals past him.
Mike?
Forza Panterone. Once again, I know it's not great when we're all in agreement, but yes, Cheeto, he was selfish, like I had kicked off this topic, but I think without taking too much away from Cheeto, we also have to acknowledge that the Fiorentina keeper played very well today, stopping some great chances from Tucu and Cheeto. I mean, he played really well, considering especially he's not their first choice keeper as well. Lafont is injured, I guess, really nothing much more than running into a keeper who played well. I'd say a lot of regret comes from the build-up play. Lazio owned possession, especially towards the end. I was annoyed that it took a goal from Fiorentina to wake the team back up after dominating the first half. And then through the first 15 minutes, I'd say, of the second half or more until Fiorentina scored, Lazio had kind of played it as like a kickabout on the pitch. They weren't really engaged in the second half. They looked lethargic, like Alasdair said. So it's unfortunate that they needed to be woken up in that way. But after it happened, we wasted more opportunities. There was a lot of opportunities missed, and then there were chances that Cheeto could have spread the ball around, and he chose not to. And that, I think that's where a lot of people will point the finger at him and have a lot of regret. But take nothing away from the Fiorentina keeper.
And another point I wanted to make is Tucu Correa played really well at the derby. We talked about it. Today started really well, but in the second half, he was quite invisible. I know, and we said it, that he's a little bit like Felipe Anderson, right? On and off, on and off, on and off. But in 45 minutes in the second half, he was pretty much 43 off. And if you want to fight for the Champions League or win against big team, your number 10 cannot be like that. And I thought, we were talking about the post-derby, etc. I thought he was one of the reasons why Lazio won the derby, so he should have been, really positive, really focused, etc. Instead, after the first half, his drop was massive, I thought, and probably one of the reasons, again, because Lazio didn't find the goal in the second half.
Yeah, for me, he needs to make a decision quicker because he loves running at players, but it seems like he gets into a position where he's running at a defender and then he gets to a point where he needs to make a call on whether he's going to take a shot or release the ball, and he just doesn't. He hesitates and was doing that a lot tonight, hesitating in those areas, and Fiorentina just pinched the ball back off him. And for me, I think, I don't know, it'd be interesting to see what you guys say about this, but I thought it was really a negative call from Inzaghi to bring off Lulic for Badel when we need a goal in a game and leave Lucas on the pitch, and you've got 2 defence midfielders. Interestingly, he's changed to a 4-2-3-1 formation, which we've barely ever seen this season. But Badel just slows the game down so much, and between him and Lucas, we're not going to zip the ball upfield, and we're sitting quite deep in the game today in the hope that we've got the pace to get in behind and break on the counter, which is a good strategy, but we just need to move the ball quicker. And I thought in the first half that the Lazio were doing that really well, zipping the ball around, a lot of one-touch moves between the kind of 4 attacking players, which is how the goal was created. But then in the second half, that just stopped, and they weren't playing close enough to each other, the attacking players, and they weren't getting the ball upfield quick enough. And it's a shame because we really praised Inzaghi a lot last weekend. It was one of his best games of the season, certainly against Roma. But I just didn't feel like he got the kind of in-game changes right today.
Can we look at it in a different way, though, in the sense that, yes, there were some negative substitutions, and I'm just asking as being devil's advocate here. Let's say we score one of those 4 chances we had in the second half, or Cheeto decides to spread the ball, or perhaps Lucas puts in a better shot there, and we score, and we win 2-1. Are we still having the same discussion about, hey, these were negative substitutions, or are we praising Inzaghi again on a wonderful masterpiece, putting on a Cataldi, and making the right substitutions. This is what I mean. I think there's a fine line between Lazio playing a masterful performance here and Lazio just being a little bit unlucky, because I really think Fiorentina should be counting their lucky stars that they even got a point out of this game. Pioli seemed pretty resigned to the fact that Lazio was better going into the match. He said that even in his pre-match comments. And then towards the second half, after they made 1-1, he was perfectly fine setting up shop as a home team and just absorbing pressure for the remainder of the second half.
I agree with what you're saying, Michael, but I give you the example. AC Milan is playing bad. It's not playing great. The last 4 matches, they have been playing not great football, but they got, 4 wins, and that's really important. The impression we have is that if Lazio doesn't play at its best, we never win. We have to play at the best and take all the chances after. Oh, come on! Otherwise, Lazio won't win. And for a big team, a big team that wants to fight for the Champions League, you have to win even ugly. And for Lazio, never happens. So that's the reason.
Well, I would argue that we did that through the first half of the season. We played some ugly games against Frosinone, Empoli, and we've taken all 3 points. So it's more of a matter to me of Lazio being unlucky today too with some of their chances. We didn't take our chances, and I hear what you're saying, Vittorio. You have to be clinical. You have to play with that cattiveria that they say, and you have to take your chances. But when you're going up against a team who's the home team and has no interest in really winning the game and only having one chance on goal, it is very difficult when you're playing against a negative side like that. And on top of that, putting in the types of players that won't give you that edge, like Alasdair was saying. When you put in Badel, I don't know if Inzaghi maybe, and I'm reading too much into it, got caught up in the nostalgia of it, the fact that Badel served as a loyal servant to Fiorentina for 3.5 seasons and maybe wanted him to get a run out considering he didn't play last week. But I don't know. That's just me putting thoughts out there, and maybe there was something more to it. But I don't understand why he even saw the pitch today. It wasn't a game for him.
Especially after Cataldi playing so well. Every time
right,
Cataldi...
Exactly. Yeah.
I thought today it was more useful a Parolo maybe, or a Cataldi anyway. Both players are more offensive, and Lazio was trying to win the game. Because, as I said, a draw, it's useless. I don't want to say it's the same thing as a defeat, but... if you want to keep the fight for the Champions League open, you had to win today. So the draw, it's useless. So why bring Badel in today? And as Alasdair was saying, he's so slow when he has to turn the ball around. He's so slow every time. Most of his passes was passing back to the defenders, and this allowed Fiorentina to regroup and reorganize the defense. So, I don't know what happened. We saw him... against Genoa, probably his best performance with a Lazio shirt, and today we saw the same old Badel that was of the first part of the season, who was terrible. So, I don't. There's gonna be a reason for sure because Inzaghi made that call, obviously, but from outside we don't know, as we don't know why Patrick was selected. Someone asked me if Bastos was injured. No, because he came in. So if Bastos was injured, I think Inzaghi would have put in someone else, Ramos or someone else instead of him when Radu would get injured. So on the other side, let's try to be a little bit positive. I thought Marusic had another good game today.
Yeah, definitely. I wanted to bring him up as well because for me, he was doing today what we've kind of been imploring him to do all season long. We've quite regularly criticised his tendency to play it safe and take the ball in good positions and then just knock it back into midfield or back to defence. But today he was so positive and proactive, and especially in the second half, he was kind of dragging Lazio forward by himself at times and really running at defenders, running into space and like I say, dragging the team up the pitch. And I think that is one of his strengths. He is very good at doing that when he does it. It's just that he seems to have become so much more timid this season and kind of not quite so willing to take the risks of not beating his man or his attacking moves breaking down. But I think when he does play like that, he's a real weapon. So I thought that was a really encouraging thing. And it's quite funny, I suppose, that if you see the team we lined up with today, with Marisic and Patrick on the right and Radu and Lulic on the left, that it was the right-hand side of that defence that was the stronger one, and the goal was conceded from errors from Lulic and Radu coming down the left. So, that was quite encouraging in my mind to see Marisic having a good proactive game again, finally.
Hey, matter. Oh, I won't be here. I'm going out with them. They're dropping me off. Bye.
Mike, your thoughts on Marusic?
I guess I turned off the mic. I didn't want it to interfere, but you don't need me to echo anything positive. I'm glad you guys are taking the lead. Marusic, and usually I'm anti Marusic in terms of when compared to Romulo. We talked about that last time, but yes, Marusic put in a positive performance. I also wonder, and now all of a sudden you guys have got to me now, because I started thinking back to the game and how it was going in the first half, and then the fact that Chiesa got injured and Fiorentina changed their shape a little bit. Was it that the defense had less work to do? Because Chiesa is a different player compared to Simeone, and they had their hands not as full, I guess we could say, than when Chiesa was on the field. So I don't want to fall into that trap, but maybe Marusic had less work to do defensively, and also the way Inzaghi set the formation with three in the back gave Marusic more opportunity to get forward. But yet, once again, still, whether it was Patric, Marusic, Lulic, whoever was throwing in the cross, even Romulo too. I know you're gonna say it. When can we get a decent cross in? When is this going to happen? When can somebody learn how to put in a good ball, whether it be even a corner kick, clearing the first man? It's shameful that when we take corner kicks too, that it can't even. It's craziness.
I think the only perfect cross tonight was from Patrick. I'm not sure. But
there may be one. Maybe there was really one, if anything.
Yeah, and even...
This is the frustrating part.
And the other part is, I was thinking, when was last time we scored from a corner kick? We have so many players good with the header, and we bring up all the defender, and then our crosses are embarrassing. They're always on the first post, and a defender is there who always throw it away. Alasdair, last time we scored on a corner kick?
Yeah, bring up the stats.
I don't know. I've been desperately trying to think, but I mean, this is something that goes back to our previous discussion a few weeks ago about the fact that we're not scoring goals from as many different positions anymore, and I think we've only got 4 goals from centre backs this season, which suggests that we're not taking advantage of set pieces as much. I think the point about the quality of crosses is definitely a good one, because I mean, how often are we scoring in the air? And it feels like something that we should be taking advantage of more, because if you got a player like Milinkovic-Savic making runs from deep into the box, then if we have quality of delivery coming into him, he has got the ability to use his kind of aerial strength to get us a few more goals that way, but it's just not really been happening. And as for set pieces, that's just completely dried up basically as a source of goals as well. So it's frustrating. But I mean, again, there's at least the one positive thing throughout has been that we've never really stopped creating chances. The chances are still there, but they're just not being taken, and that is probably makes it even more frustrating when you come away from a game and you've not taken those chances. But I think we'd be more worried if we weren't creating any at all.
Yes, I agree, but how disappointed it is to draw a match like this with 6 shots on target from Lazio and only 1 from Fiorentina, and they score on the only chance they had. We've been talking about Rado and Lulic making the mistake, but Muriel was all alone in the penalty box. How can that be possible? No one was marking Muriel. So, you cannot make these mistakes, I think. They cost you 3 points tonight. So, very disappointed. What do you think about Milinkovic-Savic's performance? Because now with this new solution Inzaghi is having with playing Milinkovic-Savic, Luis Alberto, Correa, Immobile all together. Obviously, Milinkovic-Savic and Luis Alberto has to have a more defensive position. What do you think about his performance today?
If you're asking me, I saw a great initial start last week. Well, I mean, we saw the old Milinkovic-Savic last week. I thought some of that carried over in terms of enthusiasm with some of his touches. Unfortunately, he got too cute on the ball. But just kind of taking over what you had said yesterday at the end of this with regards to Mood and being free, I'm laughing because I'm searching online trying to get some more answers as to some of the technical choices, because I think Inzaghi is at fault for some of this in terms of points lost. And there's somebody piece of paper that he gave to Bastos right before he entered the pitch, and even the commentator, I don't know if you were watching with it, the same commentator had kind of chuckled with the fact that Bastos barely even looked at it, and he gave him something to go onto the pitch. And if you look at it, it's all crumpled. Somebody took a picture of the photo of where Inzaghi wanted Bastos to go, and it's not really clear even on the piece of paper. There's all these arrows pointing in different directions between Badel and Leva, and it's just that kind of stuff that makes you kind of scratch your head and go, well, what's Inzaghi doing? Where is his mindset? What is he trying to do or trying to convey to somebody like Bastos, who's probably already frustrated with the fact that he didn't see the pitch till the last minute today, and then you're trying to give him these crazy instructions to try to change the face of the game when you're putting on a defender essentially in the last 10 minutes, when you have the likes of Parolo on the bench or somebody more attack-minded like a Pedro Neto.
Patrick Bowman just tweeted us that we scored 7 goals from corner kick this season.
When was the last one, though?
Don't remember. Patrick, if you remember the last one, that would be much appreciated. So I saw the thing, and I was just reading. Inzaghi said that he brought in Badel to recover the ball possession, to increase the ball possession that we.
But we own the possession.
I don't know. Honestly, I'm surprised by this substitution. I imagine that the third one would have been Casado, maybe take off Ciro Immobile, I don't know, to be a little bit more offensive, but he didn't have time. I was thinking, I know I'm a little bit crazy, but when Lazio switched to the 4-3-3, I said, okay, this is Pedro Neto time. I know I'm a little bit crazy, but do you think the same, or it didn't cross the...
That's how I saw it. Yeah, I agree. That's how I saw it too. Yeah, the type of running that he does. Fiorentina's defense, they're not world beaters. Let's be honest. They've conceded 6 goals in their last 2 games coming into this game.
Alasdair?
Yeah, I mean, it certainly would have suited the game plan because, especially once Inzaghi changed the formation, I think that having a guy like Neto with his pace and his directness would have helped to fill that space and catch them out on the counter, which seemed to be the second half tactic. I think he deserves more chances than he's been getting, but again, I think Inzaghi was a bit hamstrung today in the fact that the changes he made before Radu picked up his injury. And then he was forced really back into bringing on Bastos and returning to the same old 3-5-2 as well. But yeah, I think, I don't know, there are a few kind of alternatives. I mean, it's strange. I don't know about you guys, but I still find myself kind of pinching myself that like Caicedo is actually quite a valid, exciting option to be able to bring off the bench because he's actually scoring goals at the moment. So I think that is a position we've basically never been in before, so it's good to have an option like him scoring goals and an option like Neto who can provide that pace in the counter as well. So those are kind of 2 things that we haven't really had before.
Honestly, I'm not so excited of thinking of Casado coming in, but if you are, I'm happy for you.
Maybe excited is overdoing it, but you know, he is actually, he's providing a service now in the way that he used to kind of come on and he'd just be a lump and get in the way of everyone. But now he is actually doing what he's supposed to do, I suppose. So yeah, I've got more faith now that he might actually score a goal than I ever have before, which is saying something.
Mike?
Well, I'll say this. You don't need me once again to be positive, but all I can say is looking at the next few fixtures, we know we have Parma next. Are taking on each other. The Milan derby is next week. They're going to take points off each other. Nothing is beyond us. We have Inter at the end of the month, so we have Parma and then we have Inter. If you're telling me that Inter is going to take 6 points from their next 2 games, well, then we don't deserve to be in the Champions League, especially in. So I'll close on my side of this because I can't stay no longer with you guys breathing in the positivity. It has to come from Alasdair. It has to come from Vittorio. It has to come from the Laziale population. We can't get bogged down in the talks of Champions League. We have to maintain the positivity going forward and know that nothing is beyond reach at this point.
No, it's the other thing I would say to pick up on that is that it's very much kind of within our own hands at this stage as well, because we've got the Milan derby coming up next weekend, which obviously one of them or both of those teams will drop points from, and then between now and the Coppa Italia semi-final, there's Lazio's fixture list includes both Milan teams. So the thing is, if they can actually pull it out of the bag and get 6 points against those 2 teams, which will be very difficult, obviously, because they're both at San Siro, but the rest of the fixtures are looking pretty nice. You know, Parma, Spal, Sassuolo, Udinese, Chievo. I mean, that's a pretty good run. We're in a position, essentially, where what I said after the derby I still stand by now, which is that I think to get the top 4, we need to find the form we were in at our best stages of last season again right now. I think that's the only way we'll manage to pull back the deficit, but I think the signs have been relatively promising recently, and we just need these guys to start taking these chances. You know, that's the main thing.
Yeah,
One thing, Alasdair, if we didn't create the opportunities were there today, and on a different day, yeah, we have the 3 points. So it'd be one thing if we were finding somebody going, who is going to be the talisman to create the opportunities? But they're happening. Sorry for cutting you off, Vittorio.
No, don't worry, Mike. Perfect. What did I want to say? Yeah, the positive thing is that if you see Lazio playing today, Lazio played well. We said that we didn't take the chances. But if you see Inter playing today against Spal and Milan playing, who was it yesterday? I don't remember. They both played. They both played bad. Chievo still are discussing about a couple of free kicks and the second goal allowed to Milan, saying that it was a foul, etc. But after all, Milan didn't play well at all. Today, Inter didn't play well at all. They were really, really lucky. They had a deflection on the first goal. The assist on the second goal was really okay. I don't remember if it was a defender passing the ball. Anyway, Inter didn't play well and was really, really lucky to score. So, if we want to be positive, we have to say that it's funny, but Lazio is the team playing better of the one fighting for the Champions League. We still have to see Roma, how they will play with Ranieri tomorrow. But I think Lazio is the team that's playing better. That's not enough. You have to win to get points. But, you know, if you play better, it's easier to win matches than if you're playing badly. So that's probably the most positive things we can take from this week.
Just seen Rami Algendi's comment to us on Twitter, which is definitely going against our positivity.
Well,
what's Alasdair on? Because I want some of that. If we get points away at Inter Milan, not a chance if we can't beat Viola away. So, of course there's a chance. I mean, there's Inter, we went to San Siro and knocked them out of the Coppa Italia. That was, just over a month ago. Milan, we've played twice. We've drawn against twice. So, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't see any reason it's impossible.
Last time we beat Milan in the Serie A, it was 89. So, Patrick Bowman tell us that the last time we scored on a corner kick was December 22, so last year. Incredible.
Go away with the negativity, everyone. Roma is still icing their asshole after the fucking we gave them last week. So when everybody gets down, let's just think about that for a second. The 3 goals we put past them, and then their exit from the Champions League, and then all the people that had to make way because of it. So let's just remember that when we're worried about if we're going to go to San Siro and take 3 points here or take 3 points there. The opportunities are there. Milan is not world beaters. They have a very good striker in Piontek. Inter is without Icardi, which is actually working in their favor for now. But who knows what happens when he comes back. Everything is there for the taking. Rami, go to bed, take a good nap, because we're coming back stronger than ever. The opportunities are there. They're being created. In fact, I think the team played tricks on us through the first half of the season, not beating any of the big teams. Maybe they learned their lessons from last year because we peaked too early last season, playing out of our skin, scoring all those goals. And then what happened at the end of the season? Injuries got in front of us. We also played the most games out of all the teams, considering how far we went in the Coppa Italia and then the Europa League. And I think perhaps maybe the team smartened up a little bit from that too. We're still very much alive. We're still very much in it. If you ask me which team did I think had a fair shake at getting that last 4th spot, it'd be between us and Milan, considering how in form we are. Usually when you go on the road and you take a point on the road, it's a very positive result. But I understand why all the negativity, because we played better than them. And it's unfortunate that we didn't take all 3 points. But if Milan somehow manages to beat Inter and Sampdoria in their next 2 games, well, then they can have the 4th spot because they earned it on merit. But I very much think our direct rivals will continue to take points off each other, and we will look pretty towards the end of the season, considering our lighter schedule at the end, which is nice for a change, as Alasdair pointed to, considering who we close out the season in the last few games against. Especially, like you said, Alasdair, once again, we play Inter in 2 games, and then Milan quickly after that, and then we have the semifinal for the Coppa Italia. So if we're still very much alive there, plus the enthusiasm of the Coppa Italia, which we have a very good chance without even having to win, and just going to San Siro and scoring, why not? Well, why not consider a Coppa Italia final against a very beatable Atalanta, or, to a lesser extent, Fiorentina, considering the first leg result? And why not 4th place? Still very much alive.
Okay, you convinced me.
All right, good. Now, if I could just sell you on my timeshare too, that it's easy payments of something else, we could share a timeshare in Florida as well.
Okay. So at the moment, Lazio is at 42 and Inter, that is 4th, is at 50. So 8 points on difference. Lazio has still the match against Udinese to play. That it's 11 on April, Alasdair, do you remember?
Yeah, April 11th, correct.
Yeah.
So, if you win that, you go to 45 and you just have 5 points. You're just 5 points behind Inter. Remembering that, obviously, I think there is the break next week, right? Or
Yeah,
no, Parma next, and then there's a break.
And then, yeah.
Okay. So there is the derby next week. That is going to be really important. One of the 2 teams is going to drop points. So we have to win and try to, close the gap.
Draw, which would be a great result. If they draw, we're right back in it.
Yep.
And it's Lazio. What are we talking about here? Does Lazio ever make it easy, Vittorio?
Never.
And Alasdair. No. So what are we talking? It's going to be difficult. It's always going to be difficult. Even when we earn it, it feels like we have to go through hell to earn it. But it's still very much within the grasp. And I'd rather be Lazio right now than Roma. That's for sure, considering what's going on there.
Yeah. It's incredible what can happen in 7 days in football, right? Roma lost the
I was satisfied. Yeah, I was satisfied because I tried to explain to people the importance of the derby. Not so much for you in Europe, where people understand, but in North America, it's hard sometimes for people to grasp the importance of the derby and the rationale that one game can really make or break your season. But I think it's living proof that in one game, everything, the house that was keeping Roma together came crumbling down. It was a house of cards, let's be honest, and we saw the chinks in the armor all season with how poorly they played. But it's so satisfying to be able to be the ones that broke the camel's back, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Yeah, now you have to see what happened with Ranieri. I'm curious, even because Monchi left immediately. That was surprising. Now he's heading to Arsenal, but it was surprising to see him leaving during the season. Anyway, they're playing tomorrow against Empoli. It's going to be interesting to see how they play, because again, they're still in the chase for the Champions League spot, but they could be even out of the Europe League like Lazio is at the moment. So it's going to be really curious, even because again, Torino won today, and Torino is going to be a tough team to play against. Atalanta won again, so the fight it's really interesting. The Scudetto is over, or it never started, but the fight for the Champions League it's pretty interesting this year.
One of our members said, you said Juventus, one of our members said to be a Laziale is to embrace the struggle always. Otherwise, we'd be all Juventini.
Yeah, that's true. We hardly win, so we know what it is. Alasdair, let's talk about Luis Alberto today. How do you rate his performance?
Alberto, well, yeah, again, I think he was, as he so often is, to be honest, he started the game well and drifted out of it, which he's done a lot this season, I'd say. And yeah, he played a couple of really good passes from that deeper role, and I think that's what we need him to do more is kind of get his head up and try and thread those balls into dangerous areas, which is why he's in the team, playing in that position. But yeah, I think, again, first half, all of those attacking players going forwards were linking together very nicely, Alberto included. But then, yeah, I think his influence just waned as the game went on. So, yeah, I do think that this is the right way to go, though, the Fantasia Lazio, as it's been dubbed. I do think it's the best approach. I do think it's the way we can find the best balance, get our most dangerous players on the pitch at the same time. And the results have been a little bit hit and miss, but when we've got everyone fit and firing, I think there's enough there to cause any of these teams problems. And when we do come up against weaker teams in the league, hopefully we've got enough to get past them just through that sheer quality. But I do think as well that Inzaghi's going to have to be sensible in the way that he manages his squad, because there's a hell of a lot of fixtures coming up in the next month or so after the international break, and people are going to get tired, and he'll know that he can't afford to end up in the same position as last season, where he lost key players like Immobile right at the end, right at the key point of the season. So I think that by rotating, using the likes of Cataldi, Parolo, Badel, those are all quality players who can come in and do a job. So I think with the midfield particularly, it'll be important, I think, for him to get the rotation right.
Mike?
Luis Alberto is strange, really. I see him growing with confidence, game by game. However, I still don't like when he plays alongside Tucu Correa. I just don't see. I see a lot of stepping on each other's feet. I see redundancy. I see, unfortunately, two players with a similar mentality that don't like to share the ball. So I like one in, one out. If Luis Alberto is in, then maybe Tucu has to come off the bench. So that's kind of how I see it. But the whole reason why this is even up for debate is because, why? Luis Alberto isn't playing as well as he did last year. In fact, he really hasn't gone going and showing any sort of anything similar to how well he played last year. But maybe that's because he overperformed last year. And then unfortunately, he still really hasn't recovered from the injury that he suffered towards the end of the season. But outside of that, we have Correa who has the potential to step in. Unfortunately, though, Inzaghi, once again, you have to leave it back to the strange decisions or the way he sees it, the way he wanted it together in terms of Tuku and Luis.
I thought today he was really nervous. He argued a lot with the ref. I thought he was right. The ref made a couple of bad decisions against him, and he was really nervous, and this didn't help him play as good as he could. And then, as Alasdair said, probably in the second half, I think one of the reasons is playing in that position cost him a lot of energies. We saw in the first half recovering a couple of good balls, but that costs him too much. He's not the type of player that, a Lucas Leiva player who can run for 90 minutes backwards especially. It's quite expensive for him to do that job as well. So I think that's one of the reasons why in the second half he tends to disappear.
I thought Lucas Leiva was absolutely immense, by the way, tonight, and especially in that first half. He was just doing such a good job of picking out any loose balls, intercepting them, winning the ball back. And I mean, Muriel basically didn't get a sniff in the first half. And he, once again, for me, showed how important he is to that team and that midfield to kind of provide the balance and the security that we can afford to have guys like Milinkovic, Savic and Alberto beside him, because it takes a serious player to be able to offer you that enough security to have two such attack-minded players either side of him. So I thought tonight was another example of that. And he's another player I think we need to be really careful with, because he's so important to the way this team plays. And I think for us to go on a run before the end of the season, we're going to need him wrapped up in cotton wool and basically injury-free up until the final day.
This brings me up when Acerbi got down. I think, who was it? Simeone stabbed him.
Yes.
Oh my! I was so concerned because the on Sky they said, oh, he turned his ankle, and I said, oh no, I don't want even to think about it. Imagine how Lazio defense would be without Acerbi. That would be terrible.
Yeah, and that's a fine line between, getting into a Champions League spot and not. We need a consistent performance. We need a first half performance, and I'll close there because I can no longer stay positive considering we haven't played the next game. So all thoughts are on Parma. We put aside the lost points today, fine. With a healthy Acerbi, a consistent performance that we saw today in the first half, the Champions League is within reach. European places are within reach. And if anybody is a little bit down across the Lazio network, just put on last week's derby one more time and you all have smiles on your face again and you'll forget about the points lost today.
Okay, we'll do it.
I have to say goodbye, guys. I'm sorry. I have to go. Sorry.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for joining us.
Take care, guys. Next time.
Cheers, Mike.
Alasdair, your last thought before we wrap it up?
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I think we've pretty much said it all already. I think that the performance, it's very frustrating, and I see Inzaghi's talked about his anger at not getting a result from that performance, and I think that does make it a lot more frustrating than it would have been otherwise. But look, it's still a good performance. I really hope that the positive mood can continue, because I mean this week was extraordinary, with 5,000 fans turning up on a midweek training session to support the team. I mean, Lazio are one of the few clubs where these kind of things happen, and when that positivity does surround the team, that's when good things can happen. So I do hope that can continue, and I think if we can get a win, bounce back with a win against Parma next weekend, then we're into an international break and we can reassess then. So, disappointed not to get the result, but still some promising signs there.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be really important to see what Roma does tomorrow and how the Milan derby finish, because a draw could be really important for Lazio, and seeing how the two team plays in the derby is going to be really important. Injury or things like that. They're not playing really well now. Milan is winning. Inter won today but was struggling before. But it's important to see how they play. And then let's not forget that Milan played against Napoli, but all the others still have to play against Napoli and Juventus. So we hope that they're going to lose points, right?
Yeah, and there's no perfect teams in this race. I mean, it's been said quite a lot this season that nobody wants to qualify for the Champions League because all the teams have been so inconsistent, really, who are in that fight. And, Napoli are now sliding back down and are within reach of the Milan club. So, yeah, we're very frustrated as fans when we don't get results in games and when we have kind of ups and downs. But the good thing is that the same thing at least is happening with everyone else. So hopefully at some point a corner can be turned and we can kick on. So yeah, it's still all there to play for. But yeah, don't get me wrong, it is a disappointing result on the back of what was an absolutely amazing week.
Yeah, I totally agree. Especially again because Lazio played well. They should have won this match. So that's probably the most disappointing thing about today. And it's funny to say. Lazio played much better than Fiorentina and should have won it. Alasdair, as usual, thank you very much for joining me. Remember that you can follow us on Twitter, at Lazio Lounge, on our Facebook page, and subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, on Spotify, on Spreaker. And as I said at the beginning, we really appreciate your support. If you're not already a Patreon, please, you can go to our Patreon page, patreon.com/Lazio Lounge, and subscribe. Membership starts from $2, so it's not that much. It's just, a coffee for a month. So we really appreciate your help. Again, Alasdair, thanks for joining me, and we're going to talk next week after Lazio Parma.
Yep, looking forward to it. Sweet, yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
Time to fear. Up there's an angel watching